Imagine finding someone who's not only living in your house, but also planning to perform surgery on you. There has been so many terrifying cases of frogging, and if you don't know what frogging is, it's the act of an intruder living inside your home. Lifetime is coming out with a series that is filled with cases of frogging, which I totally recommend that you guys watch. But I want to start with a frogging case that gives me the absolute chills. This is called The Secret Surgeon. So this newlywed couple, James and Brittany Campbell, decided to move with their 2 kids to Honolulu, Hawaii after getting married in Vegas. They moved to the suburbs together and are thrilled to be starting their new lives. It's super important to note that above the bathroom at their new house, there was a crawl space attic. Well, June of 2019 is when it all began. Brittany liked to watch makeup tutorials on YouTube as she would get ready and do her makeup and hair in the morning. And while she was doing this one day, she heard the front door slam just out of nowhere. All throughout that evening, she continued to hear the door open and close. She had asked James if he had locked the door, and he had said yes, but she still made him go downstairs and check, and he found the door unlocked. This caused a bit of an argument between the newlyweds, and she found herself starting to get more and more obsessive about checking the locks and making sure everything was safe at night. She said that she felt like she was going crazy, and James was pretty dismissive about the whole thing. Oh, James. But Brittany was fixated on this. Well, eventually one day while James was playing the piano at the house, he sees a shadow of a person walk past him. But James was like, maybe this is just someone being nosy outside. Well, a few days later, James was at home with the kids and he noticed that there was a strange message for him left on his desktop calendar, which stated, "Do as I did, choose a home, clean it, set up all devices." This story gets way scarier. Go to the next part. Okay, so back to one of the creepiest stories about frogging I have ever heard of. So James saw this really strange rehabilitation message on his calendar, but he thought it was just a strange way that Brittany was trying to tell him that he needed to tidy up. Well, 3 weeks later, James was finally convinced. They were all going to the movies as a family, and there was one particular blanket that they liked to use to snuggle up to watch movies, and none of them could find it. They searched the house up and down. It was usually on the couch. The kids were helping. No one could find it. And the second that they returned home from that movie, they found that blanket folded up perfectly, sitting on the couch. And that's when James knew something was wrong. Brittany was like, finally, she was feeling validated. And soon after that, in the middle of the night, Brittany noticed that her webcam was on, and she thought that that was strange, but she just got up and turned it off. So in September of 2019, they decided to go back and visit their family on the mainland. And they decided to take an earlier than planned flight home. And when they pulled up back to the house, they noticed that James's road bike was sitting in the driveway, and he was like, I didn't leave that out there. So they knew something was totally off, and the second that they opened their garage door, they noticed that everything was trashed. James was scared for his family's safety, so he went ahead and grabbed a sledgehammer and headed to the front door of the house. James tried to open his front door, but was met with some resistance. And then after providing a little bit of extra force with opening the door, he was met eye to eye with a man inside of his home. And this man was, no joke, plotting their surgery. If you guys want to hear more about this story, tune into Frogging, Hide Her in My House on Lifetime on June 18th, 10, 9 Central. This is the last part to the secret surgeon who was living in a family's home without them knowing. James is eventually able to pull the intruder onto his front lawn. He notices that he's wearing his clothes, and the intruder is very calm but trying to explain that this is his house. James is just trying to rationalize this. Maybe he's homeless, maybe he's on drugs. He's trying to call the police without causing a huge scene and just keep the man calm. Well, Brittany immediately runs into the home to go check on the cat. And on her way in, the man yells at her saying, "Don't worry, I've been taking care of your cat." And when she walks inside the house, she notices that all of her husband's instruments are out and everything looks like it's been taken inventory of. The cat was in a crate, it had no water, and it looked like he had been trying to feed the cat dried apricots. And a weird thing is that he kept the boys' room very pristine. That was the only clean room in the house. And their bedroom had a set of knives laid out on a towel. The weirdest part was that there was an old computer that they didn't use anymore set out on the bed. On it was a medical manifesto written by the intruder called The Omnivore Trials of Rehabilitation for Rat-Like People. And the journal itself had very intimate details about each family member. This is whenever they knew that he had in fact been stalking them for quite a while in their home. Looking at the journal and his prior search histories on the laptop, he had a whole outline on what he was going to do, how he was going to drug the family members. He had a serum sitting in the kitchen that was labeled to use on the omnivores. He referred to the family as being subhuman or a different species. Some of his Google searches included where to buy medical tables, how to perform surgeries at home, videos on how to surgically remove an arm, and videos on sex reassignment surgery. And he had left Brittany his own makeup tutorial on her laptop. That was why her webcam was on. He was arrested, put in jail, but then was granted supervised release. He then burglarized a Buddhist temple and was sent back to jail. He ended up killing his cellmate. I mean, this case is just way too much of a close call for me, and there are so many other terrifying cases of frogging.
This is why you should never go to sleep early. Once there was a girl named Rebecca who shared a bedroom with her sister. But one night something terrifying happened. Something no one can explain. Her sister would always go to sleep early because of work, but one night Rebecca felt exhausted from school, so she decided to sleep early too. She could have never expected the horrifying things this would lead to. When she opened her bedroom door, the lights were already off and her sister was in bed. She asked, "Are you asleep already? I still have to shower." Her sister replied, "Lie down. It's too late, shower in the morning." Rebecca said, "No, but her sister interrupted her. "I said lie down." This time her voice was much angrier. Annoyed, Rebecca went into the bathroom anyways, but found someone was already in there. Then her mom came out of the living room. "Dad's taking a long time in there, huh?" Rebecca said, pointing to the bathroom door. But her mom looked confused. "No, he's in the living room with me watching TV." Rebecca stopped. That's when the bathroom door opened and her sister stepped out. To this day, Rebecca still wonders who was in her bedroom and what would have happened if she had lied down like it told her to. This is why first impressions are not always right. One time Alyssa was driving home from her high school basketball game when she noticed the car was driving closely behind her. At first she thought this must be a coincidence, but every turn she made this car followed, and quickly she became scared. Then this car began flashing its headlights at her every few seconds. At this point Alyssa was terrified. She drove home quickly, got out of her car, and went inside her house to call the police. This car parked right next to her waiting, but no one could expect the true reason why Alyssa was being followed. The police arrived and tried to arrest the man, but he insisted he never did anything wrong. And this is when Alyssa found out the truth. The man pointed to Alyssa's car and there was another man crouched in the backseat with a knife. He had gotten into Alyssa's car right after the basketball game. And the man following Alyssa saw this all happen but had no way to help her. So he followed her home and flashed his headlights every time the man got up to stab her. Turns out the man that Alyssa thought was following her was actually the person that saved her life.
Don't open your eyes. On the last day of every month, close the blinds or curtains before you sleep. If in the middle of the night you hear a tapping noise at your window, don't open your eyes. If you're one of the unlucky ones, you'll hear the pebble sound at your window. It's not a friend, just keep your eyes shut. The sound will get louder, the tapping will get faster and faster. Don't let your curiosity get the better of you. Don't move. It'll lose its patience, it'll start thumping the window. Your window will shake and shudder and the noises will only get louder. It will furiously pound the window and shake the panes. Don't worry, the window won't break, but for goodness sake, don't open your eyes. No matter how scared you are, no matter how badly you want to scream, pretend you don't hear, pretend you're still asleep. After a while, the noises will stop. Don't fall for it, keep your eyes shut. Try to sleep if you can. Don't get up, don't open your eyes until the sun comes up. Those who do open their eyes, well, no one really knows what happens.
This is why I don't tell anyone where I live. There was once a boy who asked his single father for a bedtime story, so the father told him. There was once a boy named Colby who made friends with another boy online called Helper23. On Colby's birthday, Helper23 wanted to give him a present in real life, so Colby gave him his home address, where he lives with his mom, his dad, and his little brother. But then Colby started to feel a bit weird about giving his address to a stranger online. The next night, he thought he had to tell his parents about it. He called out to his dad but got no reply, then found both his parents killed and a man wearing a dark hoodie holding a knife in the hallway. As Colby started to beg for his life, he hears his little brother crying in the next room. The intruder then strangles Colby and leaves the house with Colby's baby brother. The boy then looks up at his father and asks, "Why did the intruder take the baby?" To which his father just calmly smiled and said, "I've always wanted to be a father."
Have you heard the terrifying story of what happened to a woman called Midnight Mary? On October 15th of 1872, a 48-year-old woman named Mary Hart unexpectedly collapsed in her home. She had this unknown illness, and she died exactly 12 hours later at midnight. She was then buried in the city's Evergreen Cemetery, and the next night, her aunt had a vivid dream that Mary had been buried alive. Now, her aunt was so sure that her dream was right and was telling her that something was wrong. So she had Mary's coffin dug up and reopened. To their horror, they saw fingernail scratches all along the inside of the coffin from Mary trying to scratch her way out. Now, this is a legend, and people aren't sure if this is exactly true or not, but unfortunately, people were actually buried alive really often back then, and people say that she wanders around the cemetery at night, and if someone visits her grave at midnight specifically, they will be doomed to a horrible death.